we get Mark Schlereth on in here. 12 years, an offensive lineman in the NFL for Washington and Denver. He's the host of the Stinkin' Truth podcast. He's also an analyst for NFL on Fox, and more in a minute on the game he's calling this week. And Mark Schlereth, who is the host of the Stinkin' Truth podcast. You can listen to the Stinkin' Truth podcast now on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side. Mark, how's the podcast going, brother? Welcome to the show. Thanks for spending some time.
Yeah, my pleasure. No, the podcast is great, man. We are plugging away as always, and it's always fun. You know, the NFL is that beast that needs to be fed 365. You know, and so I'm enjoying the heck out of that. It's always a good time.
All right, beautiful. All right, let's get down to it here, Mark. Winner take all Sunday night for the AFC North. Ravens, Steelers. We still don't know about the status of Lamar Jackson on Sunday night, but regardless if he plays or not, do you think the losing head coach of this game is moving on from their current team? Is the Tomlin or Harbaugh era ending with a loss?
I tend to think not. I don't think so, but there have been a lot of complaints. About both coaches' lack of playoff success. Obviously, Harbaugh won a Super Bowl, in 2012? That's forever ago now, and they've been, kind of a juggernaut here of late with Lamar Jackson winning the MVPs and all that stuff. But I still think that they're a damn good organization, and I just look at both ownership groups. Like, I don't look at Bisciotti there or the Rooney family in Pittsburgh as guys that will be like, oh, we had a bad season, or I just don't feel like that's kind of in their DNA as a franchise. I would say if I was a gambling guy, I would say probably more of a chance of Tomlin moving on than John Harbaugh, but I could be wrong on both those accounts.
Mark, Brad Evans here, and I am indeed a gambling guy. Let's go in an area that I know and love. I lived there for 7 years, and of course you know and love as well, and that is the city of Denver, Colorado. The Broncos have an elite defense. We all know that, but offensive question marks remain. In your opinion, what are the two biggest keys for the potential number one seed in the AFC to blaze a trail to Santa Clara in this year's Super Bowl, Mark? So what does Denver got to do to reach the mecca of the NFL?
Yeah, obviously defensively, you talked about them being elite defense, but they've been leaking a little bit of oil here the last several weeks. And they got to clean some of that stuff up. It's the little things that have cost them here in recent weeks. Missed tackles have been an issue. They've missed a bunch of open field tackles that have created a huge plays. I think in the Jacksonville game alone, they had several missed tackles that led to about 100 yards of total yardage against Jacksonville. So it cost them, that part cost them the game. They have lost and they have gotten beat on some busted coverages here in the last few weeks that have really cost them big plays on defense. And so I think you have to look at those things, cleaning those things up. They're going to play a lot of man-to-man coverage. They're going to bring a lot of pressures. That's what they do. But they have to clean up the back end of those things. They can't allow busted coverage. You can't allow big-time plays over the top. I think that has to be better. And then ultimately, I think that Bo Nix has played really well. But I think that he plays better when they do a couple of different things. Up-tempo game for him, kind of on-the-ball offense for him. I think he plays a lot better in that kind of environment. I think part of the reason is simply it limits what they can do offensively. It settles – that kind of competition settles him down a little bit. I think he plays better in that environment. And then the other thing is I think he's got to be willing to continue to make plays with his feet. He's a dynamic athlete that needs those opportunities. And I think when he plays that, again, he's such a competitive cuss that I think it makes him kind of almost invigorates him. So using him in the design QB runs, I don't think they've done as much of that here just in this season in general. They've had some scrambles, but some design QB runs. I think they need to open up the offense a little bit that way to help supplement their run game as they still try to figure it out. because they've had the injuries at the running back position. So I think that's something that they've got to be able to do if they're going to make a run to the championship game.
Yeah, good stuff there. We're talking the great Mark Schlereth. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side. Mark, this jackass is a diehard Chicago Bears fan. Sunday night was both exhilarating and heartbreaking there in Santa Clara. In your estimation, what's the fate of the Chicago team in the postseason? I'm going to set a random over-under, and I'm going to set it 1.5 playoff wins. What do you say, over or under?
I would probably, that's a great question. I'm going to probably say under. I think they'll probably be one and done. But again, I've been betting against the Bears all year. There are too many inconsistencies. I always say this about the quarterback position. Boring is great. And one thing that Caleb Williams is not is boring. But I've got this rule, guys, and I'll just lay it on you. It's called the 70-30 rule. Just being an offensive player, 70% of the time, your offense needs to operate on schedule. And 30% of the time, when the plays naturally break down, then you got to have a guy that can make a play. And obviously, Caleb Williams will make unbelievable plays when things break down. But there's too much off schedule. Like for me, when you play 50-50 off schedule, too many bad things can happen to you as an offense. You can take a sack, you can get interceptions. Those things happen to you when you play off schedule too much. And I think this offense relies on so much off schedule stuff that I just don't think the on schedule aspect of it, the boring aspect of it, the take what is given to you aspect of it, I don't think Caleb does that well enough. And he's consistently, every time I look at the box score, even the games they win, he's completing 58, 59% of his passes, just not good enough to be a consistent offensive unit. And that to me is a big time concern going into the playoffs.
Mark, let's get to the game you're calling this weekend. Falcons Saints on Sunday, and now all of a sudden this game has some freaking juice. I mean, look, it had a little bit before, no disrespect. I mean, these teams have won a combined 7 straight games here, but now it could potentially decide the NFC South. Even if the Bucs win, the Panthers can win the division if the Falcons beat the Saints on Sunday. So if Tampa does win on Saturday, you think there's extra motivation for Raheem Morris and the Dirty Birds to flip the division winner here?
Oh yeah, I don't think there's any question. The other thing is with Raheem Morris, I think you're basically coaching for your NFL future, and I think there's a lot that goes on. You look at this Atlanta team. I think a couple of things. One, I think they're a damn good team. That it's perplexing to me that they have the record that they have. Like when you look at Bijan Robinson, you look at the weapons on the offensive side of the ball, and I know they went with Penix, and they decided to do that as an organization. But I feel like Raheem has got to get a victory here against the New Orleans Saints to make sure that he maintains, the head coaching job in Atlanta. And certainly I think one of the things that motivates you when you don't have anything really quote unquote to play for is, can you disrupt somebody else in your division? Can you ruin somebody else's winning streak? And when I mean winning streak, if Tampa Bay has been losing a bunch of games in a row, but this could be their 5th straight division title. So there's always that motivation there, but I think it really comes down to Raheem. It's really such it's the nobody wants to win this division, right? And I called that Carolina Tampa game a couple of weeks ago where then Todd Bowles, and he was a teammate of mine in Washington. I love Todd Bowles. I love the aggressiveness, but come on, I mean, you got to make Bryce Young play quarterback, right? That's what every defensive coordinator has got to make him play quarterback. Got to make him sit in the pocket and play quarterback because that's not what he does well. And here's Todd Bowles, bringing zero blitz in critical situations. And in those critical situations, Bryce Young was 2 for 2 for about 100 yards and 1 touchdown in those situations that ended up winning them that game. So to me, you got to settle down, take away that blitz that you're so apt to do, and see if you can get that win, and then just hope that New Orleans stays on that hot streak of 4 games in a row that they've won.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Finishing strong in the New Orleans Saints. We've been talking about Tyler Shuck possibly being a front runner for the Offense Rookie of the Year award. Speaking of awards, Mark, the MVP conversation took a turn last night with Atlanta's stunning takedown of the Rams. As a result, the market at BetMGM flipped heavily in favor of Drake May. The Patriot is now minus 700 to take home the honor, with Matthew Stafford next up at plus 425. You got to vote. Who gets MVP in your mind? Drake May, Matthew Stafford, or maybe somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, what Christian McCaffrey is doing right now in San Francisco, considering how injured they've been, multiple quarterbacks playing. Like, I hate the MVP. I hate that award because it always seems to go to a quarterback, right? Quarterbacks don't play football. They play quarterback. I hate the fact that we can't see past that and see past the value of what other guys bring to the equation. So, Drake May's having a great year. There's no question about it. He's been unbelievable. And, ultimately, like you said, the market's flipped. He'll win it. But the quarterback should have their own little quarterback award. They wear pink jerseys during practice. I hate that. That's what it's like. The Heisman Award. It's the same damn thing. I gave up on the Heisman Award when the guy from Baltimore
last year when Genti didn't win it.
No. T Sizzle had 20. T Sizzle had 24 sacks his junior year and didn't even get invited to New York. How do you get 24 sacks in a season at Arizona State and you don't even get mentioned as a Heisman candidate? I just give up on that stuff. Everything is such a quarterback. Everything's so quarterback driven, quarterback centric, and wide receiver centric, and it drives me crazy. Why after that Chicago? By the way, we talked about this. I'm on a tangent now. Well, after we talked about Chicago and San Francisco, and you saw that game, and it was 42, whatever the score was. Why would you ever spend money on wide receivers? Seriously, why?
Yeah.
We got Kendrick Bourne making catches. We got Ricky Parasol turning it on. We got a bunch of hey, Tonjes, a tight end I've never really heard of, is turning. Why in the world would you spend money? There's about 3 dudes that play wide receiver that I would spend money on. To me, it's probably the most overvalued position in all of football, and yet we just get Twitter pated over the damn thing. That and quarterbacks drive me crazy. But that's just me. I'm old and angry and shouting at clouds, I
guess. Well, spoken like a true offensive lineman that had to do the dirty work for all these divas, these quarterbacks and these receivers. Mark Schlereth. Mark, we got about 2 minutes left here. Final one for you. Titanic clash on Saturday. Seahawks Niners in Santa Clara for the 1 seed in the NFC. Whoever wins or loses that game, for me, obviously the seeding is important, but those two teams, do you think the Super Bowl representative from the NFC is playing in this game on Saturday night?
If you had asked me a week ago, I'd have told you the Rams are the best team in football. Now, listen, I think actually this is funny. I played for Mike Shanahan and Kyle, and I've known Kyle since he was 12 or 13 years old. I'm a bit biased. I love what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball. Love what Christian McCaffrey is doing. I just love how they operate as an offense. This is a great offensive play caller in Kyle Shanahan versus an unbelievable defensive play caller in head coach Mike Macdonald. Mike Macdonald told me several weeks ago that, hey, the reason he went out and hired Clint Kubiak is because the West Coast offense is the toughest offense he's ever had to defend, from a play calling standpoint, and there's nobody who runs it better than Kyle Shanahan. The issue is defensively, San Francisco is pretty thin defensively. So I think Seattle is a better overall football team, but I'm probably going to pick the Niners. Maybe that's just my loyalty speaking.
All right, Mark. Well, hey, we appreciate you, brother. Can't wait to chat with you soon. Enjoy the final week of games, and we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you soon.
That sounds good, man. Take care.
Thanks, Mark.
All righty. That was Odyssey NFL insider Mark Schlereth, host of the Stinkin' Truth podcast. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side. Mark is the host also of the Odyssey original, the Stinkin' Truth podcast. Remember to listen to the Stinkin' Truth podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And I know recently he got into a different topic that we didn't talk to him about, but if you check out his Twitter at Mark Schlereth, he got into whether or not that the Lions championship window is closed. And so I thought that I had a chance to listen to that. I thought that was an interesting debate as well. But Brad, really quickly here, any particular answer that you want to unpack about what he said, maybe about your Chicago Bears? I've been a big doubter of the Bears all year. Mark's been a big doubter of the Bears. And the fact that this team gets off schedule quite a bit and asks Caleb to play kind of hero ball more often than they should, and the fact that there's been many games where he's been under 60% completion percentage. Do you agree with that, or do you think that at this point Caleb's riding a magic carpet and it doesn't matter how often the Bears get off schedule?
No, I think it was an astute point, quite honestly. I think he was spot on with that. I loved his take in particular as well with the MVP conversation. I hate the fact that it's a quarterback popularity award. I think he makes a very strong point about the CMC football factor. Christian McCaffrey's been unbelievable this season. And before the wheels came flying off, there was a strong argument for Jonathan Taylor to be the MVP this year. So, yeah, we got to start thinking outside the box. Voters shouldn't just go to the best quarterback in the league. Let's go in and give them a separate trophy. If you want to give them something, it's most valuable player. Who is most indispensable? It's not a quarterback every single year in and year out. And many times it's a wide receiver, sometimes a running back, sometimes it's a defensive player. It's time to change perspective.
You know what I thought? It was just 2 years ago, right? When McCaffrey was having an unbelievable season, probably about just as good as he is now. I'd have to pull up the numbers off the top of my head. And there was so many people saying, why is Brock Purdy, up there with Lamar Jackson for the MVP? It should be McCaffrey. And right. I thought Purdy was playing just as well. And maybe then I'm just a sucker, right? Maybe I'm just another one of these sheep that just goes along with the fact that it has to be a quarterback that wins this award. And then Purdy threw 4 picks on Christmas night, and that was basically the end of that. But I still think if he had outplayed Lamar Jackson, Purdy was going to win the MVP, not McCaffrey. I know you and Schlereth would say otherwise, but I digress.